This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Hello viewers, you're watching Pulse of Africa. I'm Jalani Tasfaye for the main news. First, our top stories for today. Ethiopia to inaugurate Great Renaissance Dam early next Ethiopian year. Zimbabwean Kirsty Coventry elected International Olympic Committee President. Africa CDC says the African Epidemic Fund is now operational. Africa Development Bank to unlock $10 billion for African farmers. Now, the news in detail. Ethiopia is going to inaugurate the historic Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD by the start of the coming new Ethiopian year. Responding to questions raised by members of the parliament yesterday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopians will make history by cutting the ribbon together around the beginning of next Ethiopian year. For the Premier, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is the pride of Africa, wherein the country shows the spirit of resilience and possibility. GERD is a practical testament that Africans can change their fortunes by developing their own resources by themselves, Abiy underscored. Reaffirming the commitment of the government of Ethiopia not to harm the downstream countries, particularly Egypt, the Premier noted that Ethiopia's goal is generating energy. Now to Somalia. The African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia, AUSOM, condemned the heinous Al-Shabaab mortar attacks on Mogadishu's Aden Abdullah International Airport and nearby residential neighborhoods on Wednesday. In its press release, the mission said these indiscriminate attacks on innocent civilians underscore Al-Shabaab's blatant disregard for human life and expose the group's desperation in the face of relentless pressure from Somali security forces and international partners. We stand firmly in solidarity with the government and people of Somalia in their pursuit of lasting peace and security, said Sivule Bam, Deputy Special Representative of the African Commission and acting head of AUSOM. AUSOM extends its deepest condolences to the families, friends, and relatives of the victims and wishes a speedy recovery to those injured. Moving on to Zimbabwe. Kirsty Coventry was elected as the 10th president of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, on Thursday, making history as the first woman and the first African to lead the global Olympic movement. The election was conducted through a secret ballot by over 100 IOC members during the 144th IOC session in Greece. Coventry received 49 votes, securing the majority from the valid votes needed for the election. Juan Antonio Samaran Jr. finished second with 28 votes. The 41-year-old, who won the vote in the first round, will officially take office after June 23, succeeding Thomas Bach, who has served as president since 2013. Shifting to Africa CDC. The African Epidemic Fund has become operational, providing the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, with flexible funding to support countries across the continent in outbreak preparedness and response. The new fund is said to be a game changer, and the Africa CDC will no longer be constrained by bureaucratic hurdles, but will have the flexibility to rapidly deploy funds where they are needed most, the Africa CDC said in a statement released on Wednesday. This is the vehicle through which we can receive funding without any limitation to support African countries in preparing for and responding to outbreaks, Jean Kaseya, Director General of the Africa CDC, was quoted in the statement as saying. The fund was formally established following a high-level meeting on domestic health financing, a collaborative initiative between the Africa CDC, the African Union Commission, the Africa Union Development Agency, NEPAD. In other news, the United Kingdom's Heathrow Airport has... Moving on to our next story. A Chinese car carrier with a maximum capacity of 8,600 vehicles was officially delivered on Thursday, setting a national record for the fastest hull assembly and adjustment cycle for massive car carriers, China State Shipbuilding Corporation (CSSC) announced. Independently developed in China, the newly delivered vessel measures around 200 meters in length and has a beam of 38 meters. It is a dual-fuel carrier powered by fuel oil and liquefied natural gas for 14 decks for vehicle parking that allow for the efficient load and transport of up to 8,600 passenger cars, trucks, or buses. The hull assembly and adjustment time span for the vessel was only 200 days, the fastest in China for the construction of a car carrier.
The story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel, all the time. Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Turning to business news. African Development Bank Group President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has unveiled plans for a groundbreaking $500 million facility aimed at unlocking $10 billion in financing for smallholder farmers and agribusiness enterprise across Africa. Speaking at the high-level conference on scaling finance for smallholder farmers in Nairobi, Adesina announced that the bank's management is consulting with its board of directors to establish this transformative initiative. The facility, designed to close the financing gap for smallholder farmers, will deploy innovative financial instruments such as trade credit guarantees, first loss coverage, blended finance mechanisms, and origination incentives. These instruments aim to reduce the high transaction costs of supporting enterprises with the backing of technical assistance. Finally, Morocco plans to invest 15 billion dirhams or 1.555 billion to build a new terminal at its largest airport, Casablanca, to triple passenger numbers by the time Morocco co-hosts the 2030 Soccer World Cup, its airports authority said on Thursday. The new terminal will serve as an African hub and will be connected to a high-speed train network that will link Kenitra to Marrakesh, Airports Authority (ONDA) said in a statement. The train network is a separate project that has already been announced. Casablanca Airport's expansion is part of a push to double Morocco's overall airport capacity to 78 million to meet increasing traffic in the run-up to the World Cup, which Morocco will co-host with Spain and Portugal. Before concluding, let us provide you with the latest updates on global commodities prices. Now to weather updates. That is all for today, and thanks for watching Pulse of Africa.
This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.